Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton don't agree on much except the nation's crumbling infrastructure. They say it desperately needs to be fixed, and both have pledged to spend billions.
We're going to build and maintain our roads, our bridges, our tunnels, our ports, our airports, our water systems.
We have to fix our bridges, our tunnels, our highways, our roads, our hospitals, our schools. We have so much to do.
Wow, it's unanimous. Here to take a look at which candidate has a better plan is Derek Thompson, senior editor at The Atlantic. Derek, good morning.
Good to be here.
First of all, how bad is our infrastructure at this point?
I think everybody agrees that there's an infrastructure hole. The question is, how big is it? If you ask the American Society of Civil Engineers, it's a veritable chasm. This is the group that says there's a $3.6 trillion hole until 2020, the group that comes out every year to give America a report card that finds it's constantly a failing student when it comes to infrastructure.
Card, a lot of D's
D's, C's. But if the most conservative way to put it is this: if you look at public construction spending as a share of the economy, it is at a 20-year low. So clearly there is a hole.
So how did our national infrastructure get to be so bad?
There are three reasons why. The first reason is that a lot of infrastructure is paid for with the gas tax. And as Americans have driven less and driven with more fuel-efficient cars, they have used less gas. That's number one. Number two, a lot of infrastructure spending comes at the state level. And in the recession and just after the recession, you saw state finances really take a hit. Number three, the U.S. at the federal level is really taking a turn against infrastructure spending. Right now, on Capitol Hill, you have a lot of conversations about the budget deficit, but not a lot about the infrastructure or investment deficit. And so you have a lot of penny pinchers who I think aren't thinking long-term about the roads, bridges, and all the other things that Trump and Hillary were talking about.
How do we compare to other developed countries?
Not well. I mean, you go to places in Europe, you go to China, you go to Japan, you often find that the infrastructure, the trains, for example, are absolute world class, and we are something less than world class there. Ironically, it might be because a place like Japan or Europe, absolutely destroyed in the 1940s in World War II, have to rebuild their infrastructure with more modern materials and with modern intelligence, and therefore they're ahead of us right now in the game.
So ultimately, who's responsible here? The federal government, or are we talking about the states?
It's a patchwork of responsibilities. It's the federal government sometimes to allocate money that the states can spend. It's the governors and the mayors that have to say, all right, this road is a priority. This road does not need to be repaved. We have the following bridges. This one is the closest to falling down. So it really is a confluence of responsibilities.
If there is a greatest urgency here, then where is it?
I think the best way to think about it is there is repair that we have to do and there's building that we have to do. The repair that we have to do, you have to trust the governors and the mayors to be able to identify these are the roads and bridges we need to fix. But at the same time, one thing Hillary Clinton has talked about is how there's a need to build out infrastructure, particularly 21st century internet infrastructure, provide broadband Wi-Fi to every single household.
Okay, so that's Hillary Clinton. What about Donald Trump?
So Hillary Clinton has essentially said we want to spend about $250 billion, $275 billion of new money on infrastructure. Trump has essentially said, I'm a builder, let's double that. Let's make it something more like $800 billion. In terms of where exactly they're going to spend this, there's not a great amount of specificity. In terms of how they're going to fund it, again, not a great amount of specificity. Hillary Clinton has said we might raise taxes on businesses, we might raise taxes overall on households. Donald Trump, on the other hand, has made allusions to the possibility of an infrastructure bond project, so Americans essentially give the government money and then pay it back with interest. Not entirely clear, though, that he has a white paper amount of specificity on this.
Quickly, are both of these plans viable?
Again, I think the way to think of this is a spectrum. On the one hand, you have Washington, D.C. that wants to spend exactly $0 more infrastructure spending. On the other hand, you have the American Society of Civil Engineers that essentially says we need $4 trillion before 2020. That's the size of the U.S. economy. We're not going to get all the way there, but we might be able to get a couple $100 billion.
All right, Derek Thompson, thanks so much.